Picture an ordinary night. Everything is quiet, normal, right up until the exact second it becomes a night the world will absolutely never forget. Out of nowhere, a historical regional dispute just explodes into open conflict.
Okay, let's dive into this. What if Croatia invades Serbia tonight? I mean, just think about that shocking hypothetical for a second. By examining a scenario exactly like this, we're going to see how the quiet confidence of our normal everyday lives can literally vanish before sunrise.
Imagine the visceral panic of that immediate shock. We're talking phones buzzing incessantly, televisions suddenly cutting straight away from regular programming, maps on every single news channel lighting up in bright red. It's the sudden, terrifying disappearance of normal life, right? Europe wakes up to a massive crisis, pulling in diplomats, military planners, and ordinary families who had absolutely no idea their evening was going to end like this.
Section 1. The First Hours. Chaos and Confusion.
You see, modern wars don't begin in silence. They begin with an avalanche of chaotic information. By hour 1, rumors are already breaking across social media. By hour 2, Serbia instantly raises its emergency readiness to address the public. And by hour 4, well, immediate international scrutiny zeroes right in on Croatia. Everyone is asking, was this a border dispute, a nationalist gamble, or just a massive miscalculation?
And this brilliantly illustrates how the digital information war starts the exact second physical troops move. Videos spread way faster than verification ever could, wild commentary outpaces actual analysis, and fear completely outpaces diplomacy. In our digital age, the truth is competing with absolute speed, and the battle for public perception shapes the conflict just as much as the armies on the ground do.
Section 2. Historical Weight. Scars of the 20th century. Because to understand why this specific regional conflict would shock the world so deeply, we have to look back. Memory in the Balkans isn't just about past events. These are active, emotional, and political forces shaping present-day national identity, borders, and alliances. History is basically never fully asleep here. So any new military action wouldn't just be brushed off as a border incident. No way. It would feel like a highly dangerous return to a painful past that Europe genuinely thought it had under control.
Section 3. The Alliance Trap. NATO and the EU react. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the profound geopolitical asymmetry we're dealing with. Croatia is a NATO and EU member, Serbia is not. So a NATO member attacking a non-member neighbor, that creates deep, immediate alarm. It risks doing massive damage to the credibility of an alliance that is built strictly to deter threats, not create them. This single crucial fact transforms a tense regional issue into a massive global dilemma. So how do the big powers actually react? Well, step 1, NATO is forced into immediate damage control and distancing itself. Step 2, EU emergency diplomacy is triggered across Brussels, Berlin, and Paris. And step 3, Washington and Europe aggressively push for an urgent, immediate ceasefire. Basically, it becomes this frantic race between military developments on the ground and diplomatic crisis management, all desperately trying to prevent wider European instability.
Section 4. The Human and Economic Cost. When normalcy collapses.
The humanitarian impact of something like this is instant. Just imagine your own city suddenly dealing with emergency civilian evacuations, completely overloaded communication networks, and disrupted supply lines. Suddenly, schools and businesses are just closed indefinitely. Families on both sides of the border would be totally overwhelmed with worry about basic survival, wondering if the violence is going to expand right to their doorsteps.
The most frightening thing about war is that it destroys normal life before it destroys anything else. I actually want to pause for a second to just let the gravity of that quote sink in. Civilians are the ones who carry the immense psychological weight of lost routine and absolute uncertainty on that very first night. They don't have the luxury of waiting for official histories to be written. They live the first rumor, the first loss, the first real fear.
So, the crucial point is how this shock immediately ripples outward into the economy. Investor confidence? It just plummets. Supply routes freeze up, insurance costs instantly multiply, and regional tourism, both along the Adriatic and inland, comes to a dead stop. This deeply interconnected Balkan economy proves that war is uncertainty at its absolute worst.
Section 5. The Ultimate Gamble. Testing Europe's architecture.
Because for Croatia, making a move like this would be a massive national gamble with unbearable long-term costs. We're talking immediate international backlash, followed by deep economic and diplomatic isolation. The risk of regional spillover or, honestly, a frozen conflict would loom huge. Plus, the long-term, totally unbearable costs of any occupation would make the operation virtually impossible to sustain. The initial shock of the invasion inevitably gives way to severe retaliation and a profoundly damaged international reputation.
Let's move to this and see how this builds into our core lesson. Peace is a highly fragile system. It is maintained by alliances, diplomacy, trade, and historical restraint. It isn't just some abstract idea. It is an incredibly delicate machine that must be actively protected, because as we've seen, it can break down with stunning speed.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. How fragile is the peace we just take for granted every single day? Once one of those stabilizing systems breaks, the world immediately learns how razor-thin the line is between an uneasy peace and a dangerous, spiraling escalation. It's a pretty stark reminder of how quickly the unthinkable can become reality. So keep exploring these geopolitical what-ifs, because once we start asking those questions, the world suddenly looks a whole lot less stable than it did just a minute ago.